Box by Whiteacre Studio. I'm Cynthia, and today on this gorgeous September day, we're going to be working on a junk journal project. It's September for me. When you get it, it'll still be September. This is a book that might have been made from junk, so from scraps of cardboard, scraps of fabric, rubber bands that you have at home, but you're going to get everything you need to make this in the box, so you don't have to have any of the scraps that you need. So I'm going to show you what's in the box, and then we're going to go through the process of making a journal that closes with Velcro and has a decorative button, and you have pages inside. Okay, so the fabric I'm using today is a batik fabric. There's going to be all different kinds that are in the box, and then you get our favorite glue, the one that makes our fingers stick together but actually makes things stick well. And then you're also going to get your white glue that you're using to adhere your fabric to your cardboard. And you have the front and the back, you have a flap, and you have a piece that you will put a little piece of elastic on for your pencil, your little mini golf pencil, which I love, and also your rubber bands that hold your paper. So basically that's what's in your box. And I just want to say that the purpose of the journal is so varied. I always carry a journal in my purse so that I can take measurements and stuff of things I'm looking for. Some people like to have these be sort of memory journals, so you could put pictures in and scrapbook. It could be personalized, so you're, at some point making an actual gift for someone that you're giving away. It can just be your planner that you carry in your purse or keep on your desk. It can be an everyday journal. So you're getting white paper, which is a basic way to start, but you could get scrapbook paper, you could get lined paper, you could get the butcher paper that's brown that I personally love, and cut it to fit and have any kind of inside to your journal that you want. All right, we're going to start by putting on this little binding part your elastic. So you're going to fold it so that it's not mesh like this, but actually overlapping, so that it actually both sides of the elastic will adhere to your binding, and you're going to put that right in the middle, and that's going to be for your pencil. And this is where I get to get stuck to the wood right on the video. I get to peel my hands off. Hopefully it's going to stay without me getting stuck like I always do at home. There we go. I may have succeeded. There we go. And then you have rubber bands. This is so simple and so clever. You're going to be putting the rubber bands from end to end of your wood, and it's on those rubber bands that you will put your paper. So you want them to be lined up next to each other. You don't actually want them to overlap. So you're going to fuss with it a little bit to get it all turned the way you want it to be turned, and slide it around so that it goes to the end, because you want to get 4 of these on here. I am a journal collector, and I collect them more than I write in them because I love them so much. I'm almost afraid to put anything on the pages. So this is one, if you make it for yourself, that you won't be afraid to write in. And having the pencil is key. At your access, you have what you need to write with. All right, I'm doing really great, but I think I'm going to have to just slide them a tiny bit to get that 4th one on there. So it's not hard, it just takes the patience to get it lined up. There we go. And ultimately, this helps hold your elastic on for your pencil. Here we go. So there's my 4 aligned rubber bands. And we're going to put that aside for a minute, and we are going to play with our fabric. Depending on what fabric you have, you're going to decide what you want to be the top of your fabric. So for instance, I made one with animals. I want the animals' heads going in the right direction. This one, it really doesn't matter. And you're going to lay it out. And at this point, I think we'll open our glue. All right, so I'm going to open the glue. You have just enough glue to do this project. And you're going to be using your, what we've used in the past, your paint foam brush to apply your glue. There we go. So this is not scary glue. Your fingers will not get stuck together. On the other hand, it takes a little longer to dry. So when you're putting your things on and you're at some point folding over your hems, you are going to have to let it dry a little bit before you go to the next step. So you have your front and your back, and I liked keeping it in the box so that I could see it because that's pretty cool. So I'm going to line this up, and this goes next. And then I've got my back, and I've got my flap. So I'm going to be making some decisions about whether or not I'm covering this whole flap so that when you open it, let me just show you what I mean. When you open it, you want to decide whether you want this covered or not. So the sample is just the same length hem all the way around. If you decide that you'd like it to cover the whole thing, you're going to find that you got to fiddle a little bit to get your pieces, but that might be what you want. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to glue this one down. I'm going to glue this one down, and I'm going to glue this one down. Then I'm going to do my hems because I would like this binding part to fit on top of the hem, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to glue that on right this minute. Oh, Captain, my Captain, am I doing okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. And this dries clear. So one of the things I discovered was that once it's on and you're doing your hem, you may decide to do a little bit of gluing on top of the hem just to bind it really well, right? So we're leaving room for this, but we're not gluing it right this minute. And then we're going to glue this. That seems about right. Yeah. Okay. And I am excited because I have a lot of fabric scraps at home, and this strikes me as something that I could play around with on my own, even without a kit. So I think there's a lot of potential for this project to be one that you keep going with. So there's my back. And then how much space do I need? About like that? That looks right to me. Because you have to have a little give. You have to have a little give. And then I'm actually going to be trimming my fabric because I'm going to do that overlap where I have more on this part that I do the rest of the hem. Here we go. So I'm just going to measure by folding it over how much of this fabric I'd like to have to cover this flap. And I am going to use the lines in the fabric to help me. Depending on your print, but you're really just going to eyeball because this is the inside, and even that is a little bit too big unless I fold it. Nope, I'm going to take a little more off. Yeah, a little bit more. Here we go. Okay, this way first. The whole dang thing. All right, here we go. I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to Travis. I do talk to myself, but I'm not talking to myself today. Here we go. And when you're doing this at home, you're going to want to give this a chance to dry, right? So each step of the way, you're going to want it to dry a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead, because I know from experience, I'm going to want to get this glued down a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing at the top. I just realized I could have cut those corners a little bit, and we may go back and do that. You know how when you make the bed, the corner, you've got that extra bit of sheet? You're going to have an extra bit of fabric when you're doing the corners. This is laying out nicely. So when you fold this over, you may or may not want to cut at an angle so that when you fold it over, there's less fabric to deal with. So I'm going to take a tiny bit off. But you don't have to do that. So this is a catty corner slant. And now we can hem this side of our journal. There we go. And I actually have a little piece of material that I don't like, and I'm going to take it off. There we go. So that's a nice corner. That's a nice edge. So far, so good. And I'm going to bring this one over my flap. And I'm not feeling like I need to cut that at all. All right. Now, you have your super glue. If at any point you're just getting frustrated that an edge is not staying down, you can do a little dot of your super glue. You want to be careful because the glue is not like the white glue, and there might be a dot of glue that you can see through the fabric. So you want to be careful how you do that. But otherwise, that's a great way to just sort of make sure that you're binding your material to your wood. Okay. Good. So I'm going to let things dry, and I'm going to think about how we can get this binding on in such a way that it will stay, okay? I think it will go right over this hem. And I think right off the bat, I'm going to go with a little bit of super glue with the white glue. And I'm going to put that super glue where it won't show. So I'm getting this on. I'm also going to put some white on here, but I have fabric here that's been folded over, so it's not going to show through because the fabric is doubled. There we go. So this really is a moment that I'm going to need to dry for a second. So We're going to let that sit. You have a button that is going to go on the outside flap, and you have Velcro pieces that are peel and stick. So we can go ahead and put those on and then fold our paper, and then we might be ready to put the pages in. So I'm going to fold this over. Here we go. So this is where I'm going to want to put my Velcro. So I'm going to put, oh look, it really does stick. Oh, because the little paper came off. So I'm going to put this right in the middle of my flap. I'm going to mesh this with it so that I know exactly where it goes. I'm going to put a dab of the super glue on to help the adhesive that's already there. And I'm going to flip it and let it dry. And then hopefully we can unmesh the Velcro. And you can see, perhaps we should wait. Come on, Velcro. It's working. It's Velcroed. So it's on the fabric, but it's also on me. There we go. How many of my projects have I had my fingers adhered to? Quite a few. I'm going to have to come back and re-glue that. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to set that aside. But it's not a hard fix. You can see exactly where it goes. And I'm just going to flip this and show you that you're gluing on a decorative button. You know, obviously you could have all kinds of doodads at home that you would prefer to use. But I like this for this blue material. Here we go. So this is the outside of your journal. And the only thing we have left to do then is to put our paper in. So I'm going to set this aside. I do have to glue that binder in with the rubber bands. But in the meantime, you're going to be folding your paper. And again, it's just plain white paper that you will receive. But if you decided that you wanted to use something more decorative or the brown paper, just use this to guide you to cut the paper. There are 20 pieces of paper. So you're going to fold them in half, and then you're going to divide them into 4 groups of 5 because you have 4 rubber bands on which you'll be putting your journal paper. So I'm going to count out 5. And I'm going to fold in half. And set that aside. I have glue on my fingers. So right now I feel like I have, like if I were arrested, I'd have no fingerprints. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm trusting that there's 5 here. Okay. So I'm actually going to take the journal that has the binding glued in to just give you a sense of how you're putting your paper in. You're really just picking up the very first rubber band, sliding it in, getting your rubber band to your fold, and folding over, and doing that 4 times. you want to eyeball and make sure you're taking the one that's next in line, because you don't want to pull the one that's ahead of that. So this journal had a very narrow hem, and we're going to look at mine and see how it might be a little bit different in a second. I had a little bit of a wider hem. So there's my paper. And the final step is your cute pencil. There's your journal. There's your paper. There's your cover. Great. So let's take a look at mine. And I'm going to be gluing this right over the hem. So depending on how big your hem is, you want to be really careful that you actually have this so that you can use your whole rubber band. So the first time I did this, I cut my material, but I hadn't cut it enough to fit that binder in. So what I learned was gluing this over the hem is the way to go. Okay. It's actually sticking a little bit already. Let's not play around with that. Let's not argue with it. I just need a tiny bit more glue. So my paper's already in that journal, but I did want to show you this one when it's done. And this needs time to dry, but it's going to be for my son, and I think he's going to love it. And I think you're going to love doing this. I just went through some photos in my mom's home. This would be the kind of thing that I could, for each of my siblings, make one of these, pull their baby pictures out of her mess and make one for each of them. I just think this is personal and charming and perfect for when you get that big bag and you're going to the grocery store. It's just, it's versatile and it's fun. Thank you. This has been Cynthia at White Acre Studio with your September project. Have fun.